How's it going, friends? My name is David, aka Magick. I am coach of the FC Popplio, and this is the third place round match for NPL minors. We are up against TTM the Bird and his Tampa Bay Frogadiers. As you can see, he has a very scary team, which I will get into in just a second, but Bird versus me is an interesting matchup because we both probably should have been in the finals as opposed to the third place game. If you followed last week, we lost to a couple unfortunate pieces of hacks that led us here. Meanwhile, Bird played Monotui from the GBA, and he also lost to some unfortunate hacks. So, in our eyes, this could have been the finals, but alas, it is not. So to go over all the stuff he has a Mew that can use a Z move, Celesteela, Alolan Marowak, Alolan Muck, Buzzwole who has access to Z moves, Xurkitree who has access to Z moves, Florges, Seismitoad, Toxapex, Komala, Mega Sceptile, and Tauros. You should know my team by now. If you don't, then shame on you. But as far as what we're bringing, the general plan of action is to spike stack with our Roserade, who is bulky and speedy, with Sleep Powder, Spikes, and Dual Stab. We then phase with our Komodo, who is a very defensive set, especially defensive, more so than physically defensive. A lot of mixed offenses as well, with Earthquake, Flamethrower, Substitute Roar, Adamant, Max Attack, some Spadef, Excadrill with Rocks and Lumberry, and I believe SD. Our Mimikyu is defensive. It is a defensive Rest Talk, Will-O-Wisp, Play Rough, Mimikyu to sort of wall the Buzzwole completely, because we're going over the team. I kind of figured Buzzwole would come 100%, possibly Scarfed if it was the offensive check to Mega Kang. And speaking of Mega Kang, we have an Adamant Mega Kang with Power Up Punch, Return, Earthquake, and T-Punch. T-Punch for the Celesteela. And to also help break along with Mega Kang, we have a Dual Dance, Dual Stab, Thundi T with Electrium Z. The general plan of action is to set up hazards and phase with Komodo as much as possible, because his entire team is grounded barring the Celesteela. In terms of things I was most afraid of, Verd kind of brought it. Yeah, everything here is kind of what I was scared of. Xurkitree could have been kind of annoying if it came. Seismitoad could have been a little bit annoying. Just in general, he kind of brought everything that I expected him to. And I'm sure I brought everything he expected me to. Looking at the team matchup, I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of Spadef or Assault Vest, or a Colberberry, Alolan Marowak, something of the sort to deal with the Thundi. That's why it's there. It has Lightning Rod. Buzzwole is possibly either Helmet or Scarfed, so either defensive to deal with Kang and Excadrill, or Scarf to deal with Kang and Excadrill. Mew, I'm expecting a defensive set maybe, or possibly offensive. I'm hoping it's defensive and it's like a Wisp set, because that's what my drill is designed to deal with. But offensive is likely and a lot scarier. Celesteela, I'm expecting defensive, maybe Autonomize or some sort of 4 attacks or Leech Seed set. If Buzzwole or Florges is not the helmet user, I'm expecting Celesteela to be. His Florges, I have no idea what to expect on Florges. I didn't expect it to come. I thought it was really not great in the matchup. I could see it coming for the Komodo in case the Komodo got out of hand. So it's possibly defensive, maybe with a Kebia Berry or something for Z Poison Jab, or maybe it's a Wish set to heal up a defensive Celesteela and a defensive Marowak. or maybe it's offensive, but I don't know. And then Mega Sceptile could be anything. Verd has been very good in his use of Mega Sceptile this season. It's been an absolute nightmare for a lot of coaches from what I've seen, and it's no different. So let's jump right into the game. I'm gonna lead with my Excadrill, expecting either Mew or Marowak to be his rockers. He leads with his Buzzwole, and he clicks Earthquake. And the fact that he led with Buzzwole signals red flag, he's Scarfed. The fact that he goes for Earthquake, as I sacrifice my disguise knowing that I can't really go into anything else. The fact that he switches out also tells me he is Scarfed, because any logical one would probably like sub up or something or do something. He goes into his Roserade though, and I know this is 100% free switch into my Excadrill. He predicts that nicely, I think. No, he goes into his Mew. Oh, he goes into his Mew expecting Roserade to come in, but no, I make the aggressive play. I go right into my Drill and decide to get up my rocks as he goes into Celesteela. So, Celesteela is now inside. I don't know what it's going to do, nor do I really care at this point, because I believe I stand and go for my rocks as he Leech Seeds, and I'm like, alright, awesome, I can deal with this. I go into my Kamo because it's a flamethrower set, I could roar it out. He goes for a Leech Seed. I believe I go into my Kang here, expecting anything else to happen. Let me try and remember that play. I go into Kamo, expecting him to double seed, because I didn't want Kangaskhan to get the Leech Seed. I do remember that. And then I double back into Kang knowing that it's bulky enough to take things like Air Slash. I know it can 1v1 any type of Florges, no matter the set, and that would be his most likely switch in if he's afraid of something like Specs Flamethrower or something. So I decide to double into Kang and on his Protect, and then he switches out fearing a sort of electric move, as I just go for a Power-Up Punch, predicting him to switch or predicting him to stay in. I get my +2. As we can see, there is a Rocky Helmet Florges on my screen, and I decide to just go for Earthquake. He's not going to go into a Celesteela on this, so I can kill the Florges without taking any prior damage. He goes into Celesteela, possibly thinking that I don't carry the Thunder Punch. Sorry about that pause. But I do, and he lives. It was kind of a roll, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But this does tell me he's completely fizzed F regardless. I go for Return here instead of another Power-Up Punch, and that is kind of key. I went for Return in case he made a really aggressive double into something like Mew, or like if he calced the damage, you would have seen him adamant 100%, or maybe that was a really high roll on Jolly, I don't know. But if he made that play into Mew or into Buzzwole, predicting my Power-Up Punch again, then I wanted to catch them with a +2 Return and OHKO them. Verd, being a very smart player, knows I figured that that might happen, or I might play aggressive and do that, and decides to just safely sack off his Celesteela. It's not doing anything for the rest of the game, and then sacks it off to let in his Buzzwole. And the fact that Buzzwole comes in on the Mega Kangaskhan 100% confirms that it's Scarfed, like my previous opinion. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe he goes for an Earthquake. He does, yes. And that damage is Scarf damage, and it hurts like a bitch. I decide to go for the Wisp once again, knowing that nothing really on his team really bothers me. And if this is a physically offensive Mew, like an SD pass into Scarf Buzzwole, or SD pass into Sceptile, I'm prepared. I go into my Drill to sort of scout, as he goes for a Genesis Supernova, and that does 47%. That tells me he's max special attack timid based off that damage. And now the Psychic terrain is up, meaning his Psychics are gonna hurt like a bitch. So I decide to just hit him as hard as I can with my Adamant Earthquake into 62. I almost wish I had Protect, but alas, I do not, as he goes for a Psychic to knock me out. Now, this turn is important. He has 2% on his. He has 2% left on his Mew. This Thundurus, at the time of the game, this Thundurus is modest. I knew it going into after I built the team. I knew it all the way up to the game. I started playing this game, and this Mew was there at 2%, and I think, okay, I'm gonna go into my Thundurus. I'm going to click HP Flying because I'm faster, because I'm 101 speed, and I'm timid, right? Yeah, I thought I was timid, and I can kill this. I'm at a range where I live any of Mega Sceptile's hits if he chooses, because that's the obvious go into. The obvious play is for him to go into his Mega Sceptile and threaten me out 100% because he outspeeds me and something. And if I lock myself into like T-Bolt or something, it's not nice. It's not nice for me. He's not going to see an item. And so the thought process is I knew Mega Sceptile was going to come in on the Thundurus, and I know that I am bulky enough to live any Mega Sceptile hit 100%, and I can go for an agility on it, and then I have properly lured it. HP Flying kills after rocks 100%, unless he's like a super bulky Mega Sceptile. I calced it with creeping, I believe. So in my mind, I'm like, alright, I'm timid, I'm clicking the attack button. Better play is, because I am modest, I click agility here, and then I kill the Mew in the next turn because he cannot kill me. And then that forces him into his Alolan Marowak, because if he goes into Sceptile, he loses his Sceptile. If he goes into Buzzwole, he loses his Buzzwole. So he has to go into Marowak. Rocks are up, so he'll be at 75. HP Flying should do 50% if my calc was right, and if I remember it from when this game actually happened. And so that would have put him in range of like any of my Pokemon to then come in, and I could have sacked off my Thundurus to the Marowak instead of to the Sceptile. But alas, I am not timid, and I don't click agility because I thought I was timid, and I go for a hidden power, not revealing which one it is. He aggressively goes into his Mega Sceptile. One, because he knows he's faster, so he might think I'm Specs or something, or a Z-move, and he just kills me flat out. I thought about going to Mimikyu, but I needed it for Buzzwole. I kind of figured the Dragon move would come. Here, I could have predicted, but this Sceptile was a threat, and I didn't want it to have acrobatics as I went for a Spikes, and then I just lose the game. So I go for a Sludge Bomb to clean that up, to kill the Mega Sceptile 100%. And here comes the Buzzwole. So Buzzwole comes in, I go into my Mimikyu. One Earthquake does 40, and that's 1.5 million. I cannot deal with that. There's way too much damage. I lose my Mimikyu. I decide to just sack it off. He gets the +1 boost, and I go into Komodo. Now from this range, I do a large amount of damage to this Buzzwole. He also doesn't know what kind of set I am. He hasn't seen me use a single attack yet, so I could be a Scarf Komodo that's special, and I just flat out kill him with a Flamethrower. So he's going to correctly make the play into his Alolan Marowak, his Pentagon Jr., as he takes 8% from this Flamethrower. He sees that I have almost no investment. He sees the leftovers. I go into my Roserade predicting the rocks, as he instead Will-O-Wisps. The reason I didn't stay in on... Had I known that he was going to go for a Will-O-Wisp instead of just attacking me, because in my mind, his best play was sack off his Marowak to the Komodo and then have his Buzzwole sweep. Having his Marowak do as much damage to the Komodo as possible. Buzzwole locked into, say, Ice Punch or something that does a lot of damage to me would just sweep, because at +1 he outspeeds and kills everything, and then he gets the Beast Boost and so on and so forth. So I expected an attack here, so because had I known he was going to go for sub or go for wisp or for rocks, I could have subbed up on it, and then Earthquake does a minimum of 50% to this Marowak, which would have put me in a great spot behind a sub. Marowak is 2-hit KO'd. It just all around good times. So instead I go into my Roserade as a middle ground, so then if he sets up his rocks, I could then set up my spikes or put something to bed and then win the game from there, because after rocks it is a roll to kill Buzzwole with a flamethrower. So after rocks and spikes it is a guaranteed kill, and if he at any point switches out his Marowak right now, it is in range of an Earthquake. So Verd knows. Verd is not a dumb player. I know Verd is not a dumb player. He probably knows that this thing is spikes. Why else would I bring it in on a Marowak, if not to set up spikes to then kill the Buzzwole with my Kamo? It just makes too much sense for that to be the play. So I'm expecting him to... His two options are, one, he switches in his Buzzwole on my spikes, and then he wins the game with +1 Ice Punch. He gets the roll that he needs and he wins, right? Like, he lives the flamethrower roll. He has some bulk investment, so he's fairly confident that he can live. It's a roll in his favor, I believe. And so that is probably his best play. My best play is to get spikes up. So however I can possibly do that. So I'm expecting him to try and switch in his Buzzwole, and even if he doesn't, sleep powdering is my best play. I either put the Buzzwole to sleep, catching it on the switch in, the in before spike switch in, or I put the Marowak to sleep, and then the first turn it's asleep, I click Sludge Bomb. 100,000,000% I click Sludge Bomb, because once the Marowak's asleep, Verd's like, ding ding ding, spikes, let me go into Buzzwole, and then I catch the Buzzwole with a Sludge Bomb on the switch in, and then Marowak's in range and Buzzwole is in range of Flamethrower, and I win. 100,000,000% that is my play. In fact, I could probably go for 2 Sludge Bombs, and then just spike on the sacking turn, or spike on the wake up turn, or whatever. It just becomes a 50-50 at that point. It's a 50-50 now. So I either sleep powder and put the Marowak or the Buzzwole to sleep and put myself at a really good position to win, or I spike and risk the 50-50 of the Buzzwole coming in. So I opt to go for sleep powder, and a miss. And I think I lose, and then the rocks come down, and I'm like, oh, good, okay, good. I could try again. He sees what's happening. He's gonna... In hindsight, the second sleep powder might have been a misplay, but like, I don't... It's so hard to tell. Maybe having shown the sleep powder, I should have clicked spikes, because he wouldn't try to go into his Buzzwole as sleep fodder. But then the same play happens again. Is he going to go into his Buzzwole, or is he going to stay in? And either way, I think my best play, and I stand by this, I think my best play is to just stay in and put it to sleep again. But alas, I missed the second sleep powder. He crits me with a Flare Blitz just to add insult to injury. It didn't matter. I go into Mama Jolt just because if he was more physically defensive than I had calced, then it was a roll to kill with Earthquake, and I didn't want to risk that. In comes the Buzzwole, kills my Kang. We have the roll. I know I live the Ice Punch 100%. I go for the Flamethrower, and I get almost a very, very, very low roll. A near min roll based on his investment from what I saw. But regardless, missing has cost us both of our playoff games. and we are stuck in minors, potentially. Verd gets to move on and deservedly gets his major spot. This video has been going on far too long for such a short game, but shoutouts to Verd. He played it really well, and if my moves landed, then maybe that could have been a different game and I would be the one in majors right now, but who knows. I think both of us played this season really well. I think all 4 players who got to the top 4 100% should have been in the top 4. And they were all deserving of the major spots. And that is going to wrap up my NPL minor season this season. And I will catch you guys for the next content I'm doing. I don't know what's my next upload. Probably the GOT, maybe the next season of the NPL, depends. If you do want to see some more content with me in it, go check out the PPL. I'm doing power rankings for Division 2 over there. I will leave links to all that stuff down below. I'll leave links to Verd as well as the NPL stuff, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.